behaviors that we do in real life and things that have been around for centuries, like it's all the same. Like how we talk to each other, communicate, market to each other. Like I feel like we try to overthink it, especially as business owners. Like how do you communicate something to a customer in a digital world? And it's like they're just people. They're the same human beings on the other side of the phone.
Right. It's like, what would you want? What would you like to see or hear?
Yeah. So how do you leverage like social media and stuff right now? You talked about AI to write some stuff.
How do I leverage it?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm terrible at it. I try my best.
She does. She tries. She does a good job. She does a good job.
Pat on the back for the attempt. No.
I like to pick a good song when I make a reel or something like that. But for the most part, I kind of just create like before and afters, and then I'll create like a little video blurb with it, and then I try to do something educational. So what would somebody want to know if you're microneedling or something like that? Like what could we tell them? And just short and sweet. But for the most part, anything, I'm like, hey, Kaitlyn, does this look good?
So you run it by each other first?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I do anything.
Yeah, I'm more of our social media arm of things. You know, Jordyn is definitely more of like our business lady. So you know, I take content from both of our locations, handle our Instagram page, email blasts, stuff like that for our clients.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, you're killing it. It's wild what an active and good social media account can do for a person, for a business. So could you talk maybe a little bit about the impact that social has had, especially on Palo and, you know, all the other products that you're into?
Yeah. We'll go, you know, a week without posting something and really see a decline in our business. People follow you for a reason. They want to see the content that you're putting out. So it's definitely important to commit to making a post every single day, sending out, you know, a blog or tips or something like that. Just keeping your audience engaged.
When you say like customers are less engaged, you're seeing a dip.
Yeah.
Are you talking about like an actual, like a direct sale almost? Like you put a post up?
Yeah.
And then people are actually going to your website or?
Yeah, we can put a post up about, you know, lip filler or something, and then we'll notice an incline in people booking lip fillers.
Okay.
You know.
Facials,
Wow.
all the things.
Yep.
So are you tracking that, like going to profile visits or something of that nature?
Usually reach out. A lot of our clients will reach out to us via social media. So they'll send messages and be like, hey, I'm interested in this. I'd like to book. So you'd see like ups and updates of that. Or like your Google analytics that Google gives you. So it's like, oh, so many people have viewed your website and so on and so forth. And we're like, okay, well, we were posting every day for a week straight. It just correlates.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work though.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
In what way?
Just creativity, finding different content to post every single day. Staying on top of it. You know, I'm not the kind of person who will like schedule out Instagram posts. I like to just kind of wake up that day and see what I'm feeling posting. So it's like you have to dig into yourself every day and find something that you think your audience will find important or engaging.
This whole game of social, it's like a mind fuck. Like,
It's weird.
Like we sit there and we try to analyze. I mean, there's infinite videos on TikTok and Instagram and coaches out there trying to tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing. And sometimes you put all the time in the world into a post and it falls flat.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like 500 views.
Yeah. And it's something that takes 2 seconds is like 500,000 views. And you're like, what in the world? This is wild.
You watch someone clean a rug for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
And then like sometimes you use yourself as like a focus group of one and you're like, oh, I think this would be great. I think this is great. I'm going to make this the way that I think I want to see it. You put it out, falls flat. Yeah. But then other times, yeah. Like, so what you just said was interesting, like waking up. It's like a weird intuition maybe, but it's like you wake up and you use yourself as like a, what am I feeling today?
Yeah. It would probably
Somehow it still resonates.
to
like
plan them all in advance.
Yeah.
You know, probably a lot easier, a lot more time management to do it that way.
But do you think it would be as effective? Like easier is one thing, but being effective and meaningful is something else.
Yeah. And I feel like in the mornings I'm more creative. So I always take the first like hour of the day when I wake up, before I wake my kids up, before I shower, anything, and do all of our social media stuff.
Like making it, editing, all of that. Okay. Yep. So are you like making it and then posting immediately?
Sometimes, but like I said, I'm up really early in the morning, so a lot of the times you don't get engagement at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'll like post it and schedule it to post at like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m.
What do you
whenever
use
we
to
get the
schedule?
highest engagement? Instagram.
Right.
Or the
like
Meta
the built-in
Business
thing?
Manager, yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. See, I'm fascinated because, you've got a lot of followers and, there's a lot of people that want to have a lot of followers and they want to just hack that and figure out what are they doing to be successful. And like, there's this
Consistency.
Yeah. I'll Google like trending, trending sounds, trending tags.
Yeah. What do you think it is that makes like what Palo is up to successful? Like, what is the thing that makes the whole thing just stand out?
It's a great.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Right? Like, isn't that crazy? Like, you can't pinpoint. Like, it's
Exactly.
It's a lot of things probably put together. Like,
Idea of aging.
Yeah. People care more about their skin now than they used to.
yeah. Where do you think that came from?
Where?
Yeah.
Honestly, probably the internet.
Seeing other people talk about it.
Yeah. Aesthetic services used to be like very taboo. I feel like no one talked about them, but now, people are online. They're so open about it. People can see, that this can be done and it can look natural. Everyone used to always assume that if you get Botox, you're going to like look crazy.
Yeah. yeah.
And it's just making it more widely accessible to people. The education, the information, and then just being able to see everyday people, like everybody gets Botox.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
gone are the days
Yeah.
when the stars hide their treatments. Like we know I'm using olive oil.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just vitamin D and, walking for 20 minutes out in the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what did it. Okay. Yeah.
Now, so together they all know when the study to tell me
Right.
when Palo is,
Palo is
Right.
just me.
yeah.
Yes.
if you can kind of hear it with the golden.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I figured both people are here, so let's talk about it. Well, you know me, I bounce between all sorts of stuff. So, oh yeah. Okay, you got it.
PR person.
Good.
Yeah, get out of here.
Edit this.
No, I told you I could.
No,
Easy.
that's what they pay you for, right? That's funny. Yeah. Do you feel like COVID had anything to do with that, and the amount of time that we spent looking at our phones and social?
100%. Yeah. Not about. So your COVID, there was a period of time where everybody was calling it like the Zoom, like where everybody's in that Zoom era.
Yeah.
And kind of like the Zoom boom, like everybody's looking at their faces more than they ever have in their lives. And they're like critiquing themselves. They're just in a meeting and they're like, oh, how have I like walked around looking like this? Which is just ridiculous. We're our own worst critics. But yes, the Zoom boom definitely made a big impact because then people wanted to tweak and just make themselves feel better.
I also feel like people were wearing less makeup than usual too during COVID because they weren't going anywhere. So they were really focusing on like taking this moment to let their skin breathe and heal and get better. And people's skin was like looking better than ever.
Yeah. I feel like our relationship with like is in a weird place too, is just a culture. Because like during COVID, I mean, we're looking at each other's living rooms and whatever, and the kids are running around and it's a mess. And like, we all had grace for each other because we're all in that situation. So in one respect, it's like, we're not really judging each other.
So much.
But then the pendulum swings the other way, which is now we're not in that situation anymore. A lot of like happiness was called into question, like what makes you happy? Because it's such a like existential moment, a virus going around. Yeah. So do we care about being judged by our friends or family for knowing that we're getting, Botox or something? Or does that just make me feel better that when I look in the mirror, I look good?
Yeah.
That's an
interesting.
I think there's a lot to all of that.
I feel like most women do it for themselves.
I feel like the uptick in feminism, but like, empowering women. And then it's more of a conversation of like, no, it's not so you think I look good.
Yeah.
It's so like, I just feel good.
You feel like it's always been that way, or is that
No.
okay?
No.
So what was it like before?
Well, of course, women get put on, I hate to say pedestals, but like we have to shave our legs. So we have to be hairless. We have to be flawless. Our hair has to be perfect. And so that's, for most part, it was, back in the 50s to get your husband. But now we don't live life like that. So it's
Just be you, whatever makes you happy, that kind of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like women empowerment.
Yeah. But we're in such like a strange place with all of those things. So I do want to get into like, how do you know each other? Like, how did this come to be with Golden?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who approached who?
The Jordyn's DMs on Instagram. Had never met each other, just did some research. I wanted to open an aesthetic practice. She was already a nurse injector. Little did I know that she was, kind of on her way out of where she was working at the time. And it just happened to be like the right moment, the right person.
Yeah.
Several meetings before we decided to be business partners. But
So how did you start that search when you're like, okay, I need somebody, I'm going to go to Instagram?
yeah.
Like, why Instagram? I already assumed it was
Where I
Instagram.
get all of my information. You can find anything you want on Instagram.
So how do you search for somebody? Like, what was,
Aesthetic injector. Hashtag aesthetic injector.
and then just account after account after account trying to find somebody. Okay. So how did you know that Jordyn could be a candidate for that? Because you're just looking at Instagram and you're taking it at face value. Right?
Well, I thought just from the outside, she looks very put together, very professional. She had some videos of her speaking on her Instagram, which is, she's an eloquent speaker. She had some pictures of her work. I loved the work she does. She doesn't overdo clients. And then just all around.
Yeah.
Let me holler.
Yeah. It's perfect timing.
Yeah. And so what made you want to respond?
Yeah. So,
Tell me.
so her Instagram, no, I'm kidding. Honestly, I was switching roles. So I was an employee at the time, and I kind of knew like, okay, there's so much in this industry that I want to do a certain way that I want to do it. It's really hard to do when you have a boss, right? You have to kind of do the way they want. And then I knew I was going to life changes. So like some things were happening and I was like, okay, there's this little hiccup, so we'll figure it out. And then she just kind of popped up and I was like, everything I'd have been considering as far as like the change and what I wanted to do, it just felt good. It felt right.
Like, what was the conversation? What did you say? Like, that you were actually trying to partner and do something together? Were you just trying to like bring her in?
No,
or?
we wanted this partner. I'm in the hair world, but I've been so into aesthetics. And I couldn't do it without Jordyn. She's our medical director. So it wasn't something I could do by myself. And yeah.
It was really casual. She like herself and she's like, hey, this is what I do. This is what I'm interested in. I love, a couple compliments. Look, compliments. And she was like, if you're interested, reach out. We'll plan a meeting.
Yeah.
And I just
That's awesome.
slept on it maybe for a couple of days. And I was like, let's just talk. See what.
It's just talking, right? Not committed to anything. You just figure it out. Yeah.
We would get coffee and
Went to a dinner with our significant others. This partner.
it's really hard to read someone who just like gave you their and you're like, I'm tired.
Yeah. Can you like get to the point of what you're trying to say?
So
here?
what are you asking? Yeah.
Did you do anything where you like followed her? And I'm curious if there was more strategy to the beginning, like follow her and engage in stuff and then reach out. Like people try to game it that way too. And I think that's really interesting.
If she followed me, I wouldn't even know. I'm terrible.
Well, it's funny because
That's funny.
I'll like, even just personally, I'll see that someone has followed me and then gone and liked a bunch of my pictures. And I'm like, guarantee you when I go to my DMs, they're going to be in there with some kind of business opportunity or something, So I don't think I did. I think I was literally like, I'm just going to reach out to this girl.
Yeah.
Are people still doing follow for follow? Is that a thing?
I think everything is still on the table. I don't think it like the scale that it used to be.
Yeah.
Or like the follow what are they called? Like the groups or
chains.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all going to agree to like each other's stuff and comment and like boost each other. Like,
I don't think it would
That's-
be a part like that.
Group?
Yeah.
you do?
Yeah.
It just make you feel good that you got a bunch of follows from people that you paid to be in a group to follow you. Makes sense.
Yeah. But you didn't pay for it.
Oh, I didn't know you had to pay to
So, you know how it goes. Everybody tries to turn everything into $1. So, at first it was like, hey, let's just do this. And then it was, oh, I can cultivate these groups together and you could pay to be part of this. It's all just nonsense.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
And then they make a that you pay to go to their conference.
You're giving away all their secrets.
They've got me if you're done.
Did they really?
Well, no.
What do you
I
mean?
hate to joke. Like we do go to their conferences. Though.
Yeah.
Which is a great way for like just continuing education.
Yeah.
So once a year we'll go to a conference together. We'd probably like to do more if we could. But yeah, it's usually like a group that existed and then it got bigger and then you invite all these people and then there's a huge conference that you go to.
So what do you get from a conference? Like when you go, what are you trying to accomplish?
So new treatments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever's new in the industry is always worth knowing. And then just tips and tricks. So they usually have lecturers that have been in the industry, whether they do business, marketing, injecting, like what have you, an esthetician. And they just kind of talk about like, this is what we do it, or this is what we do, this is how we do it. And you just learn off of each other.
Yeah.
And you just meet a bunch of people too.
Do you find networking at a conference is actually useful and helpful?
For the most part, if anything, it's very fun.
It's fun.
So why do you laugh?
it's
Like your
helpful
first
why
thing
we
was to laugh. So like,
Our last one, we went to Vegas.
Okay.
So we learned a little bit.
a little bit.
Yeah. And then we had a lot of
We had
of
a
fun.
lot of fun.
It's so much fun.
Do you ever find that a conference just feels like we're going to do this conference for the sake of a conference?
Yeah.
I feel that a lot.
Yeah. It can be very stale sometimes.
I go around and film somebody that's in like the software tech industry and make content while he's speaking and go to conferences along with him. And that's just the vibe I totally get from a lot of that.
Yeah.
I've been to other music kind of conferences where it's like, yeah, we're going to do this thing because we say we're going to do it annually. Not that there's much that's new in the industry to really talk about. So I find that kind of
of
interesting.
people together. That's
Yeah.
interested in the same stuff.
Because then it goes, a lot of times it goes from like the educational component to just the social part. Like, I'm really here to hang out. If I learn something, that's cool too. But,
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Unless you
is
have,
that
like,
bad?
bigger
Is that
goals.
good?
I guess it just depends on like what your goals are. So in the future, like if I had to 5 years from now, which is a terrible question, but anyway, education. So if you wanted to like maybe be a lecturer at these conferences, then it is good to kind of like show face and be there for.
Yeah, you got to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something you want to do or have done?
I have not done it yet. I like to think that I would enjoy it.
I think you'd be perfect for it.
She's like, yes, you should. But it's not something that I'm ever going to like put pressure on myself to do. If it happens, that would be cool. So it'd be great.
What do you think the value is if you were up there?
The value.
Because a lot of times we look at our dollar and we go like, dollars aren't coming from some other person in California. It's coming here locally. So
Yeah. And dollars are very valuable. I guess for myself personally, I hate to put like the dollar as like that's my goal. Sales, return on investment, like all of that. Of course, you have to consider it in business. But for me and what I do, I just value, and this sounds so cheesy, like the relationships and like the results that you're able to give people and how they feel when they're sitting in your chair and they're with you, how they look after. But that is more valuable to me. And I, not to toot my own horn, but I like the way that I choose to inject people and consult with people and treat them as a human. And I just think more providers should do that. I think more people in this industry should focus on that. So my value would be to teach other people to focus more on that. Not so much like, this is how you'll sell your packages better.
Well, it sounds like a lot of confidence comes from that, right? Like you said not to toot your own horn, but like you're comfortable in the way that you do it, which I mean,
I'll toot. As somebody who, I was not in the injection world. I was in the beauty world or the hair world, but have really kind of delved into all this. I am in nursing school currently, actually, because I want to be an injector.
Okay.
And I'm like, if I were a new injector in the world of aesthetics and I saw Jordyn and saw what she was doing, I would want to learn from her. Like, I would pay money to hear Jordyn speak or spend the day with her, watch her technique, listen to the way that she interacts with her patients, because it's different. She definitely values educating the client instead of just having them in her chair and taking their money.
So why does that matter to educate the client? They come in, they say, hey, I would assume maybe bring some photos of examples of like, hey, I kind of feel like maybe I want to do this, and then it's just your job to do it. So like, what's it mean to educate a client, and why?
I guess for me, like, there's so much out there that we can do. Like, you have so many treatments, and a lot of times clients want to know everything and like what's best for them. So if you have like, well, I've got 7 treatments, that would be great for you, but let me just give you 3 and let's start here. And then also the money aspect, like it's not affordable. Well, it can't be affordable, but it's like, it's not cheap. Yeah. Like, you're investing to get yourself to a certain aesthetic. Yeah. And so if they don't really know what you're doing to them or why, then they're going to come back and be like, hey, well, I just gave you all of this money. I feel X, Y, and Z. They're going to be kind of like, meh. But if they know more about it and like what to expect, then they're likely going to be happier and understand. It's just all about.
Well, and two, it becomes a two-way conversation too, right? Because you're sitting there telling them about maybe products they didn't know were available to them, or why something is a better choice over what they came in thinking was going to be a good choice.
Yeah, and they may come in thinking, you know, hey, they are coming in for this treatment.
Yeah.
And then upon consultation, they actually are like, oh, I don't need that. This is not what I need to treat. I need to treat this, and in turn, this will improve.
Yeah.
So, you know, and giving them, you know, not giving them products and sending them home and they have no clue how to use them.
Right.
So education is like our number one.
Yeah. What are some of the trends that are going on right now?
Trends?
Yeah.
Microneedling. Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Yeah. Because it's been around for a bit.
Yeah, microneedling has been around for a long time. It started basically like with those little dermal rollers that you would see. And then it's advanced to like 90-degree and injection points. Anyway, so the goal with microneedling is that you're going to create these small traumas, like injuries to the skin, and then it forces the skin to heal. So I always like to say, just like if we got like a small cut on our arm, we have to build new skin to be able to repair that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're making happen, like on the face, the neck, the chest. You could go crazy, but that's the goal, to build collagen and elastin. So it's just, we're basically using our bodies how they're meant to be used and doing it in a cosmetic way.
So if you don't microneedle, it's like you're just using the same stuff that's been there for ever.
Well,
I don't know how to say what I don't know.
You're
I'm working on the vocabulary
you're
over here. I
promoting
don't know
your
what I said.
skin's collagen and elastin production.
Yeah.
So over time, as we age, we lose those things. And our skin
I'm attempting to
doesn't
say.
promote, like you're using your old skin if you don't microneedle. No, but your body depletes itself of its collagen and elastin as you age. So microneedling treatments are good for you in the long term because they're promoting that production,
Got it.
thus
So
slowing your
Making your
skin
body
aging
do it.
process.
So people, before microneedling, like what would people attempt to do in hopes of, repairing collagen?
to build collagen.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people think like collagen supplements, which are good, and not to knock them in any way. It's just not the best. And then people would do like intense treatments. So you'd see like these crazy like CO2 lasers that people would do, which people still do. It has a great,
A CO2 laser?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
it's if you could imagine melting your skin off.
I've never.
Okay.
It sounds terrifying. But it's essentially like using energy to be able to kind of do the same thing. Like you create a trauma and then your skin has to heal itself. So with CO2 lasers, it's just a lot more downtime.
Got it.
Yeah.
And when you say create a trauma, that word trauma, I think conjures up. Yeah, we don't use it all the time. So like when you think trauma, it's like, oh my God, that's graphic. Like, what does that mean?
Like micro injuries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like little injuries. Just kind of like with the reference of like getting a cut, like some way that your body has to heal. So if you just scratched yourself or whatnot, like your body has to use collagen and elastin in order to heal and kind of make that new skin. And so we're just forcing that to happen.
Got it.
Maybe that's how they did it back in the day.
Yes. Just get a cat. And that's why we
Get like a
had
pine
cats,
cone
right?
and
Oh my God. Yeah, no,
that would be an interesting thing to
Like the history of skincare. Sure did.
I mean, you got to think people started eating plants, and like, where did that go? Like, so, yeah, everything was on the table back in the day.
Interesting. I'll have to do more research on that. I'm curious now.
Yeah. So when you talked about downtime, like, what does that look like with micro needling? And
Like
can you do normal if you have a skin routine that you normally do? Is that something that you have to avoid, or you have to do like a portion of it? Do you just leave your face alone? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So usually it depends on how intensive a treatment you give yourself or you get. I usually say 3 to 5 days is going to be your downtime where you just kind of look like you have a nice sunburn. Actually, I had microneedling 2 days ago. So this is kind of what I look like now.
Gotcha. You don't look like you have a sunburn.
you look glowing and beautiful.
Thank you. So downtime can be pretty simple. And then you just skincare wise, like whatever your routine is, just, dumb it down for a minute. Don't go crazy with acids and retinol and stuff. And then just let your skin heal.
Is that because that trauma, like you don't want to do more trauma, I guess?
Yeah.
Soda products? Okay.
Yeah. You just want to be gentle with it and let it heal. So basically by day 5, 6, you're fine.
Yeah. How often is like recommended to do it? Is it a case by case situation?
Usually. So yes. So my younger clients, I usually say, we'll start with a series of 3. And we would do that every 4 to 6 weeks. And a lot of that has to do with your collagen building. So when you create those injuries, your skin builds collagen and elastin to heal. And then after so long, you're going to continue to kind of lose some of that. You want to build back up on it. So it's like a collagen cascade.
Yeah.
And so with younger clients, you don't have to be as intense with it. Now, if I have my older clients that have never done it before, then I usually say like, let's do 6 consecutively, like every 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then after that, you can just space it out. I usually say do it with your tox treatments every 3 to 4 months for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever, like, the more that you do it, do you train your body to like not do it naturally? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Almost like hormones. So it doesn't work on a feedback system.
Okay.
It's not the same. Your body is just naturally going to heal to an extent. Like if you cut our fingers off, that's sad. But if you get a wound, your body's going to heal itself
Right.
forever.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I digress. Well, there are diseases. No.
Yeah. That's weird.
But yeah, you'll never deplete your collagen production.
Got it.
You'll always increase it.
So is there a thing, I told you I'm coming at this from like 0. So
This is fun. It feels like a consult.
It is. It's really fun. I like it.
is there a benefit to starting like sooner and younger? Or is there a moment where you look in the mirror and you go, okay, I guess I need to start? Like, that should trigger it? Like what's the right timing for anybody?
Really? I always say it's a lot easier to treat and prevent because, we call it anti-aging. Reverse aging is much more difficult. So if you come to me at 65 and you're like, have all these complaints and what have you, well, we can make a dent. It's going to take about a year or so for us to see like a good change. But if you come in at 30 and, I'm starting to see this line, I'm starting to see this texture, that's so much better. So like we can improve that. And
That makes sense.
easier.
Is there anything you won't do? Is there anything that's like, we're not, won't do that?
I don't do filler in the nose. That scares me.
Filler, like what's the goal there?
So you could do what's called like a liquid rhinoplasty. So
Okay.
a lot of clients can have, I say a lot, people, yes, some people can have like little issues that they see, like irregularities with their noses.
Got it.
Yeah,
Like the overall shape, like
or like the little dorsal hump that people will have, what have you. You can place filler there and kind of make it like nice and smooth.
but it's near your eyes. Is that a concern? Is it something else?
Vascular.
Like, okay.
Yeah, so you have a lot of vasculature here, and this is just a really thin, tight space. So you have a ton of vasculature around here as well. So it just increases the risk of what's called a vascular occlusion.
Okay. I don't know that term.
Yeah.
I've seen enough the show Botched. I should know things.
I love that show.
Such a good show.
But what do you think about a show like that? I wasn't even thinking about that show until you
I love
just now, but like,
I think it's awesome.
do you think it helps the industry? Does it hurt the industry? Does it inform people in a good way, or?
I like to think that it could help, but I can also see where it would hurt it. But I like to think it could help because they're obviously doing these clients a service. So they're going out and they're getting crap treatment, botched treatments.
Yeah.
And then they're going to these professionals that actually care about the results, and they're obviously more educated and so on and so forth. So it kind of shows like the good side of it.
I mean, I feel like it has to be entertaining in some way, right? So you get the guy that's had, oh my gosh, I forget what the episode's called, but the dude that's had thousands of treatments. Yeah, like
Ken.
the wasn't it like something like Ken or Barbie? Yeah.
Or they'll get like their ribs removed, or I was actually
wild.
just watching one where she got 2 implants, like an implant on top of an implant. Anyway.
Interesting. Yeah. But educational at the same time of like how to identify, like, this is not a good choice to go get a BBL in the middle of like somebody's garage. Like, that's maybe not the safest thing to do.
It's probably
and why?
idea.
Yeah.
Cost, because these treatments they're not inexpensive. Yeah.
Well, and now you have a lot of celebrities undoing a lot of the things they've done. So can you talk about that trend? And is that impacting anybody locally, or have you noticed that?
Like the reverse.
Well,
I guess it hits on like how Kaitlyn said, she prefers natural looking results. So there was just a time when
I just want to look more natural. Natural's in right now.
Yeah.
Less makeup.
So how do you parse that? Talking about aesthetics and being natural. How do you do that? How do you do both? Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great question, because obviously when we're tweaking and doing stuff, it's not natural, but it just has to do more with what the people are perceiving and like what you perceive too, and in the end. So people don't really know it's natural, to be honest. Like they'll see somebody that's have all these treatments, and if they look crazy and overdone, then they're like, no, that's
I think you can tell.
People can spot overdone.
Yes.
But actors, a lot of the times, you can walk around and no one know that you've had aesthetic services done. They just think, wow, she looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really attractive. Tasteful.
So when like injections and everything first started, was it a thing of like a lack of quality technology? I'll use the word technology, but like products to make it look natural, or was that really the aesthetic to actually go beyond natural? And you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I would say both. Like when it first started, they really just had like one filler. I could be totally wrong, but I want to say one product came out first. Anyway, so they didn't have a ton of options. So now we have like huge portfolios of filler options and multiple brands of toxin treatments, like neurotoxins. And then your microneedling, and then your we have a lot more. And then in the beginning, it was kind of like, oh, if you want us to enhance your cheeks, then this is what we do. And then I think just also like a lack of knowledge and lack of skill.
Gotcha.
Anatomy is really important when you are injecting people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anatomy, product knowledge, all of that.
So is that why it's important to be in nursing school and understand are you finding that useful? Like, do you think it's, a lot of times in school, you do a lot of like what feels like busy work just to fill out the time. Do you feel like everything that you're up to is like actually useful? And
some of the stuff, obviously there's some classes I've got to take that like pediatrics where I'm like, I won't be using it at all.
Why in the world would they make you do that?
You know, they cover all the scopes of nursing, I guess.
What's the degree, by the way?
I'm getting an LPN, which is a licensed practical nurse. It's pretty much like I don't want to say lowest, but like the
Starter.
starter.
Okay.
So eventually I'll have to get an RN, a registered nurse.
You'll have to.
Yes, in order to inject without Jordyn being by my side.
Got it.
But going through school and being able to spend time with her, and we also employ another injector as well who's on our team. I'm able to really get a lot of on-the-job training too.
Yeah.
You know, I sit in on all their trainings and all their classes and stuff like that. So I'm getting a little bit deeper knowledge of like facial anatomy, whereas I don't get that in nursing school.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
On the job, everybody's moving to that, it seems like, because school's just not making you ready.
Look, it's almost like they try to pump you so much that if you did want to, what's the word? My brain just died. Specialize. You kind of have to like do that on your own.
Yeah. It's kind of like, yeah,
they're giving you the basics. And even, you know, after I get the license, I'll still have to go take Botox and filler certifications and all that stuff. Like my education won't stop after I get my license.
So who, like, with those, what you say, certification? Is that what it is? Okay. Like, who regulates that kind of thing? Who do you get a certification from?
Honestly, there's not a ton of regulation. So you have so many companies out there that you can technically get certified through. The best that you could do is to get certified through the actual companies that are selling the products.
Okay.
So like Allergan, Galderma, they'll do like genuine certifications as well.
Got it.
Then you have the random, you know, companies that you could go through there. You pay several $1,000s to get your certification.
They're just like a middle person collecting money, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So what are red flags on like maybe who you shouldn't select, or maybe the other way to do it is like, how do you find somebody that's trustworthy to do certain procedures that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we just talked about doing stuff in somebody's like weird basement or whatever on botch. Like apparently this is everywhere. So you also need to be able to identify that somebody that's going to be good for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've never really had to look for somebody. How would you look for somebody, Kaitlyn?
How would I look for an injector?
I mean, is it like word of mouth and you just say like, hey, thanks, and I love the work that has been done on you? Or is it
like, I would like to see that person's work, you know? I would probably do some kind of research into their background and make sure they're well educated.
Yeah.
It would be cool to see, like, you know, we've got our injectors and Jordyn and our estheticians as well have gotten certifications through trainings and stuff like that. And we try to, you know, print out their certificates and make sure that we have those displayed so people can see that we're qualified and certified to do these services.
Yeah.
More so than someone who's offering the same services but hasn't quite undergone the education from, you know, the company they're
Is there a certain
utilizing their product.
list of certifications that you think are like important that should be on the wall?
Toxins, fillers,
Yeah. And filler, chemical peels, lasers.
really anything you're
Yeah,
offering.
If you're doing it, you should probably be certified in it in some form.
I mean, that makes sense.
Ideally.
Totally makes sense.
But there's so many in this industry. I always look like you could walk out the door and throw a rock and probably hit 4 med spas. Like there's just a lot.
It is exploding.
It's exploding. Yeah, very much so.
Do you think we're at,
is hard.
do you think we're at like saturation level yet? Do you think now?
There's so many people to go around.
So many people every day,
Yeah.
you know?
That's true. Oh my, and it will never go away, right?
It won't.
Yeah.
So do you think it just changes with like the overall trends? Like you said, like being natural obviously is important right now, but we're also being mindful of our skin and things of that nature. So do you think the pendulum swings the other way at some point where we go, you know what, screw it. It's whatever I look like, that's what I'm doing.
Oh,
Do you ever think it,
if they're
does that make
going to do
yeah.
it as frequently?
Yeah.
You'll have your all the populations. Like you'll have that. You do have that.
Yeah, there's people that just are, I'll age gracefully, you know? But then for every one person that wants to age gracefully, there's 3 people who do not.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's like the vibe in the industry, by the way, of med spas? Like, everybody get along? Is it like cutthroat? Like, what's that look like?
We're girls. We love everyone. We love networking. We like, we share things that fellow injectors post. It's about collaboration, not competition.
For sure.
There's a client. There's billions of people in this world. There are plenty of clients for everyone.
So how do you get to that mindset? Because a lot of people don't have that.
Confidence.
Maturity.
Yeah. Maturity.
Maturity and confidence, also about what we bring to the table.
Yeah. So where do you get that confidence from? Is it in yourself? Is it in the product service kind of situation? Is it all of it?
I guess just life experience, right? Yeah. Like, and surround yourself with people who feel the same. So it's all about like environment and then how you feel internally. So
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I've been talking about that a lot this week. It seems like surrounding yourself with that classic thing of like the 5 closest people.
You are who you hang out with, for sure.
Yeah. So you keep like personally, professionally, do you keep thinking about those kind of things? Like who's around me and who are we employing? Who's coming in here and bringing more to the table and all that?
Always. Yeah.
Yep. Everyone on our team is extremely motivated. They're the people that get up early, go to the gym, drink water, and
drink water. So basic of a human element. And like that's
they're positive, they're go-getters, they're motivated.
Yeah. I'm not making fun of what you're saying, but it's just wild that that's like a thing that a lot of people just don't do.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So what do you look for whenever you're employing people? I mean, you just said some of those things. Like, do you just outright ask, like, what's your morning routine? Or like what motivates you? Or like
Love that. You can tell a lot about a person by their morning routine.
Yeah.
Experience, obviously, their body of work, their personality. I feel like when you sit down with someone, pretty quickly whether or not you're gonna jive with them.
Yeah.
The way that they speak, their education, their background, everything really. Just full person.
Is there anything in particular that's like maybe a weird qualifying? I don't know. That's the question I want to ask right now.
Or like a red flag?
Let's go with the red flag.
Yeah.
I'll think about the question I was trying to ask and be able to articulate it.
Biggest
Yeah.
red flag, because like Kaitlyn mentioned, we're definitely girls, and we definitely like to support and promote in any way, even if it is competition. So the second someone has like, some backstory for like why something didn't work out, so on and so forth, whether it's career, friend, or people get
excuses, that kind of thing.
Or if they start talking bad about the place that they were working before.
Yeah.
Or if they're late to their interview.
Yep. Unless, there's a
very good
excuse,
reason. You
right?
better be missing a leg or something.
So this was like years ago, when I was still applying to like teach in college. I won't say the name of the school, not that it matters, it's not here. But I applied to a school, they asked me to come and interview, and I did the whole interview. They offered the job, and like in front of this committee of like, it's the whole faculty sitting there. And just everybody started ganging up, talking about the person that held the position before. And I was like, up until that moment, I was like, this is a really cool opportunity. And then I heard that, I was like, nah.
Red flag?
I'm out. Yeah. Just had to tell him right there. It's like, nah, I can't do this. That's just crazy that people would do that though. I don't understand that mindset of like.
Well, and I think they think you're going to agree and be like, oh yeah, screw them. But you're like, hey, we're not about that here. Yeah. We're not gonna bash the place that you just came from. We just want to know if you're ready to level up and
like how do you
get better
with others,
or maybe just like it's the immature way of like they have good intentions of saying like, this is what we didn't like before,
right?
This is what we would like to be different about the person that holds this position, but they don't know how to communicate that.
The delivery was way off.
But it's crazy. So what other kind of red flags do you have, if there are any? Or any other advice on hiring?
Well, can't have any tattoos. No,
You're working on getting them removed, right?
Yes, just for Jordyn.
Did I see that you just got a new tattoo?
Yeah, so actually one of our injectors in Louisville has just started offering tiny tattoos.
Okay.
And so
AJ's tiny tats.
Yeah, AJ's tiny tats. We love you, girl.
What is a tiny tat? Like,
It's
define
just
this
like
for me.
like
the
a single
stickers.
needle fine line tattoo. So I was actually the very first human that she did one on. I have two of her tiny
You
tats.
said human. What are we tattooing before?
Like fake skin.
Okay.
Pig.
Goldfish, the dog.
No.
Like, I don't know what we're doing. I don't.
Her dogs look
What's
really
allowed? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you are allowed to
So-
have tattoos in our practice.
Well, you have one too, right? Yeah. You. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple. These are technically tiny tats. This was done in
Okay.
someone's kitchen, which is fun.
Speaking of things done in the garage or the kitchen. Okay.
Yeah.
Things you shouldn't do.
Do as we say, not as we do.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's anything like? Do you ever use tattoos as like a qualifier? It's like a culture fit.
Yeah. But we are in the
I'm kind of
aesthetic
curious, like how
world.
that works. Yeah.
Well, I think tattoos make you cooler, but
I love tattoos.
Like, I just
People
wonder if it
automatically
speaks to a state of
assume,
mind
though-
or a personality or anything. You know.
no, I feel like people automatically assume though, like especially in the hair world, if you have tattoos, like you're better at hair, and or you're more artistic or more creative or something like that.
Or more
I
interesting.
I have to say I share that
see that.
that feeling for some reason, and I mean, coming from music, video, all that stuff, it's like people in the creative space, whether it is hair or anything else, there's something about that aesthetic of like tattoos or something that just seems to promote. I don't think it's confidence. I think it's like being different and being okay with being different, being unique.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Not in a bad way.
Not at all. I don't
Do you
really
think-
of like outside like appearances when we're like interviewing someone or stalking their social media.
But I started to say we the aesthetic world. So, we do expect that we show up to work looking nice with our hair done, with our makeup done, because these people are entrusting us to make them look good. And if they come in and we look like garbage, they're going to run the opposite way. It's the same way in
only
any
makes
kind of beauty
sense.
industry.
Yeah.
So, if you show up to your interview looking a hot mess, that's not a good look.
And I would assume you expect people to already have themselves put together, and you're not going to sit there and like teach them how not to be a hot mess. Is that right? Or would you? I have no idea.
No, I'm not. We're
Never been in that situation though. Really?
that is true. I can tell you how to dress, but we're just gonna be like, now sweatpants, not a good look.
You would
Unless
think
they do
most
look
people
good.
would like people know not to wear sweatpants to work, but you'd be surprised how many times that you have to remind people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like as a business,
Not in our practice at all by any means, but just in general.
general.
Having experience with
Yeah.
everything.
it is kind of wild the people's impression of what professional is, or like what is that line of keeping yourself and keeping your own personality at work versus losing your personality and playing the role of employee,
Yeah.
And in these creative endeavors, it's like
You can do both.
you get to be yourself. Yeah.
You can definitely do both. And you have a different level of professionalism with each client. Like if your cousin comes down and sit in your chair, you're not going to act the same way as you will if it's a client who walks in that you've never met before. Now, obviously, you'll maintain professionalism because you are a business owner and you're in a space of business, but you kind of know those people that you can let your guard down a little bit in front of.
Yeah. I do want to get into like the business part because they're both owning companies, right? So how did you go from working as an employee to wanting to be on your own? Made it sound like maybe there was maybe a little conflict or of culture or just of interest of being an employee still.
Yeah. Life. So there's some life hiccup where I was like, being an employee makes it a little bit more difficult to live a certain lifestyle.
Okay.
Without going into too much detail.
Yeah.
And so then that was kind of like my eye openers, like, what do you want in a couple of years? Like, where do you see yourself? Which again, I still hate that question, but people think about that. It's your goals. So that kind of initiated. And then just being in the industry and seeing how one person will do it versus how you may want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's you have to respect your employer. It's their business, so you don't have to do what they want you to do. But sometimes it really affects your individuality.
So how do you balance that now as the business owner in allowing your employees to not feel maybe some of what you were feeling as an employee and not wanting to be an employee anymore?
Yeah. More than anything, we value their individuality. So we like to tell them and just let them know, like, we're not helicopter moms over here. We're not gonna, right?
You got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Besides
They're
babysit.
not working for us. They're with us.
Yeah.
We are a collaborative effort. They can take the day off if they have something going on. They can wake up and not feel good and not have to feel bad about taking the day off.
Yeah.
They have creative freedom, to create Instagram content or whatever. It's essentially like, they're just doing their thing with a little bit of guidance from us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like all the education that, I'm still educating her always. And so like if she ever has a question and she's like reaching out to me and she's like, hey, this is going on. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think? She's getting my ideas. And I know she values that, but I usually like to say, like, you've got this. Like, you can, you're going to do great. Like, whatever you decide is good. However, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
But whatever you do is going to be awesome. So, you've got it.
So it sounds like you're looking for a certain level of autonomy and confidence in that person that you hire, that they obviously a team player as well and can follow whenever they have to, but lead and kind of do their thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And we're not.
Did you start JLA when you were still employed?
Technically, I did.
Okay. So Jordyn has another business in her hometown that she owns. It's an aesthetic practice. So I feel like she got a taste of that a little bit while she was still employed and was like, okay, I like this.
Do it.
Yeah. What did you like about that?
Freedom.
Yeah.
Just, like the freedom to do and run and inject and
Was it
run while injecting?
I just
Yeah.
like to be running wild and free.
Inject while running?
I like to be me. But truly, it is just really nice to kind of like make your own routine and do with it what you want. And then it's almost like art, like you get to be creative and then you look back and you're like, I made that.
Did you find it scary to make the leap?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
What
if
was
you're
like-
not scared, you should be concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would think, right?
You would think. Yeah.
What was that moment where you were like, you know what? It's time. I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and leave that job.
I'll be honest. Kaitlyn was like my best and permanent rebound. It was just nice to have because I was doing my other business separately and just, hits and misses there. It wasn't consistent. But anyway, so I was doing that for a hot minute and then she reaches out and it just felt good to kind of have a partner to push you. It's like, you have that bad breakup and you rebound for a minute and you're like, yeah, life is so much better now.
That's easier too. It's less scary to make those jumps when you have someone on your side and you're not doing it by yourself, and it's a fine balance because you could pick someone who's terrible, but Jordyn and I really pride ourselves in communicating with each other. We talk every single day. I live in Louisville. She lives in Lexington. She kind of runs things at our Lexington practice and I do the same in Louisville. And it's just communicating about your wants, your needs, what's best for the business.
Yeah.
And then being able to accept, to tastefully disagree with each other or accept, your own shortcomings.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that not really conflict, but disagreement moments where it's like, I think we should go in this direction, right?
We've never had
How do you
that.
do it? Okay.
If we communicate so much that I don't think it would ever get to that point.
Yeah.
Because if you just talk about it, you shouldn't really ever get to the point where there's any conflict.
Sounds like you're always kind of navigating the other person's interest. Well, and obviously you have to, it seems like a good give and take. Like you both have to give and take at the same amount or it doesn't work. Right?
Exactly. It's like a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of compromise if need be. Usually we have similar ideas. We're like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Totally made sense.
It works out.
What were you doing before Palo and Golden?
I was an employee.
Doing what?
Hair. I've been a hairstylist for 15 years.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't an employee. I was an employee, and then I started like booth renting at a salon, which still I was kind of underneath their guidelines and stuff like that. And like Jordyn said, you know, you're in it long enough, you see how things are run, and you're like, I feel like I could do this better.
Yeah. What did you see that was something you could do better and improve?
Like not allowing employees to wear sweatpants to work. You know, when you're working beside someone who's wearing sweatpants and you're charging your clients $300 for a highlight, it feels ironic a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I have to, okay, I cannot for the life of me remember the last word in the name. Golden Aesthetic.
Atelier.
Yes. Atelier.
It's
Thank you. Which is like a salon or basically it's like an elevated, right. But it's just an elevated word for like studio or right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So why that word for this particular reason? Like
we like
elevated. It's not sweatpants standing next to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we wanted to basically have a name that said like, we're professionals in this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we're not going to do a million other things. And like, this is what we focus on. So this is our, you know, our professional studio where we focus on aesthetics.
So how do you decide like new services to offer?
How do we decide?
Because if it's like, this is what we offer, like, how do you decide like, okay, that's something that we can bundle into what we do, or that's a distraction from what we should be known for?
Yeah, we definitely don't want to be places that offers a million services because I feel like sometimes that can kind of cheapen things, for lack of better words, and it can also overwhelm people. But as far as the services we offer, we definitely cover most of your basics, your injectables, your skincare treatments. We've had talks of larger purchases, you know, such as like lasers, facial machines, stuff like that, and we're just like, hey, what do you think about this service? Let me look into it. Great. Okay, what's the price?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
That's cool.
definitely. A lot of them, I always like to say we're kind of nerds, but science is really nice. So if there are studies for a certain treatment and what have you, and they get good results and it's been used, you know, we're not like the first people out here doing it, then it might be worth it. And if it hits the business, then kind of bring it on.
I mean, I think what you just said is important, which is we're not just going to jump onto some brand new thing that science says could be cool.
Yeah.
But there's some evidence to support, like, you're not going to just destroy your face or other body part by jumping into this. So you're mindful and strategic, which is, I think, would be important.
Yeah. And anything we off done, you know, we can speak to it.
Yeah.
And we try to make that a thing too. Like Golden works alongside of our beauty collective too. So it's like, you know, we try to make sure that all the staff at the beauty collective gets those services too, so they can speak on them to their clients and stuff like that. And they're not just trying to push services that they've never had done on someone.
Which makes sense. Can you talk about the collective and like what it is and why it was important to actually establish it?
Yeah. So the collective started out as our salons, Palo. And then we started with hair. We offered lash services. We at one point had a waxer, a massage therapist, and the missing piece was definitely the aesthetic side of things. And we saw how, you know, people would be in their chair getting their hair done and realize, oh my gosh, I need my eyebrows waxed. And then we were able to send the waxer a new client. So it's just like, you know, people who may have been thinking about aesthetic services before and they just happen to be getting their hair done in the salon. And they're like, oh, they're right here. Can I talk to the injector really quick? And they get in, they get a quick consult, and then they're like, wow, that was much easier or less invasive than I expected. And then, you know, they come back and they realize then they can get it all done at one place, which is really cool.
Totally makes sense. I mean, you're lead gen for each other, which is really cool.
That's what makes the partnership really nice.
Yeah.
Because we can bounce off and just share ideas outside of what we're doing in the one single business.
Yeah.
Without trying to manage everything.
That's really smart. I don't think enough people really think to do like collectives. There are some people that attempt to do them, but I don't know if they're like
partnering
set up properly. And I mean, we don't have to get into necessarily like how you have it set up, you know, is it equity, is it like whatever, but those things are and it's hard to know like the right way to structure a collective Do you have any advice on a collective on how to set something up? If somebody else wanted to do one?
We keep things separate. So like
Okay.
we have aesthetics and esthetician services separate, and then hair and I guess lashes are kind of separate.
Yeah.
So
And
like hair related separate.
yeah, those are separate.
Okay.
However, we have signs for both on the outside of our buildings.
Yeah.
So it's like one location, two businesses. And it works
Makes
out for
sense.
us.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Ideally, we'd love to grow enough to have separate locations for Golden in both Louisville and Lexington while still maintaining the location inside the collective. But for now, with building business, it's been like monumental for gaining in clientele.
Yeah.
And then Jordyn had a following as well, which she was able to utilize. So we didn't necessarily have to start from scratch in Lexington, Louisville more so. But that's kind of where my network is. So
Yeah.
it was just a really good balance.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So why'd you decide to come to Lexington with it?
I just like Lexington.
Yeah. Just second biggest city, I guess.
Lexington's classy to me.
Yeah?
I don't know. I like it. I come here and I just feel like it's a little big town. The downtown is really lively. It's livening back up in Louisville for sure. But there's people out. And it's very artsy here. It's very community. We were talking earlier. There's a ton of small businesses here, which I think is really cool. And people seem to really support the small businesses here in Louisville.
There's a lot of really fascinating people that live here that just fly under the radar, and you would just never know that they're actually here.
yeah.
Which is selfishly partly like why I do this, because it's fun to actually have a platform to, like, I don't always have a reason for somebody else to want to come talk to me, but having a platform like this, it's like, makes it a lot easier to
Build those connections.
build that and figure it out and ask questions and just kind of learn. And figured I'd put it on tape for other people to kind of see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you like about Lexington?
What I like,
Yeah.
I really like the size of it. So I'm from a really small town,
Grayson, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So it's like 8,000 people. It's tiny.
Okay.
So then when I moved here, to me, this is like a small town girl in the big city.
Mhm.
And then it's just grown on me. Like, of course, I've traveled and everything. So I have actually seen big cities. But Lexington is just...
Jordyn is very well traveled.
I have seen
Let that be noted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But to me, Lexington is just big enough. So like you can get overwhelmed, you go to New York and you're like, you just stay in Brooklyn, or, you just stay in Manhattan. Like you don't go everywhere. So Lexington is just feels like that to me.
Like it's big enough to know everybody,
Just big enough.
small enough to know everybody, big enough to have opportunity. And
Yeah. You have like your little go-to places, and then people remember you, and you just make connections everywhere. And so like you go out can go out with like one girlfriend and see 5 others, and you're like, this is perfect.
yeah. Do you still have, what is it, JLA?
Yeah.
You still have that in Grayson? Okay.
So I've had that place open for 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's going on there?
It's essentially a Golden.
Okay.
But it's just a totally separate business. But
Gotcha.
I do medical aesthetics there.
Any thoughts of like combining those two or anything?
Not necessarily.
We like having our own things in the salon. She likes doing JLA, but then we enjoy doing Golden together.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas of like doing more product kind of stuff? I know you're into products a little bit, like anything with Golden?
Like
or...
making our own skincare line.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but we could always talk about it. You see a lot of med spas that like they get products and they put their name on it.
Just white labeling it?
Yeah.
I hate to
That's
say
a pretty
that.
big thing in the med spa world, which is for us, it's a little bit kitschy in a way.
Yeah. So you would want to go to the manufacturer and like, if you were going to actually
If
do
we were
something,
gonna
you would
do it,
want to
we
do
would-
it all the way
we
from
would
the beginning.
Find a chemist, we would formulate our own, it would be exclusively ours, but that also comes with a ton of time and a ton of money.
A ton of so much. And then
There are great products available on the market
for
already.
sure, it
Yeah.
goes back to science. Like you just want to deliver something that's actually good and not just something that's going to bring in you
Like a money grab kind of situation.
Yeah, we don't want to swing and miss on that.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't feel good. Like, I feel like people could sense that too. You're just trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
Because then you're probably going to try to push that too, because you
Right.
need them to buy it. Crazy.
Exactly.
I know it's crazy because like I have a couple of hairlines myself that I created, and when I'm in the salon and people ask me for product recommendations, I don't recommend my own because I feel like they're thinking I'm trying to push them on them. So I'm like, I want them to just go to those themselves without me having to say this is awesome, even though they are. But I'm like, I'll recommend something else on the shelf.
Really?
Yes.
I think that speaks to like who you are, though. You know, a lot of people just want to push people to, obviously, their own thing.
Yeah.
So being selfless, that's good.
For sure.
Is that something that you saw in her whenever you like had the meetings and dinners? And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just so easy.
how do you keep the culture moving in a positive way? Because I would imagine just like any relationship, you sort of settle into each other, and you've been through the ringer a little bit with questions and answers, and you kind of feel each other out professionally, and where do we want things to go, and that can change over time. So like, how do you keep the open conversation where you're giving and taking and decision making and all of those things? Like, how do you balance it?
We really communicate everything.
I just talk.
Yeah. So we kind of have like our roles, like our niches, like what we do well at.
Mhm.
And then we kind of like stick to those for the most part. But then everything, even if like Kaitlyn's amazing with social media and she knows what she's doing, but she'll still send me a graphic and be like, hey, what do you think? Which is just like a nice mutual respect, because I have no idea. I think it looks good.
She's never told me it looks bad, so
I think if I saw it on Instagram, I would like it.
So why do you feel the need to send that? Do you feel like you have to, or
no,
Okay.
just because I value your opinions.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've made a typo on things before
true.
that
Yeah.
you just need another eye.
it's objectively wrong?
And we want to make sure
Yeah.
that anything we create on social media is on brand for us and,
Yeah.
looks aesthetic with our Instagram feed. I mean, it's crazy that we have to think about these things, but
Yeah.
every little piece comes together to make it what it is.
And so how do you balance being yourself and potential client expectations of like what you should do as a professional or as a personality, or
I mean, there's an injector for everyone. I feel like, if someone comes in and doesn't jive with Jordyn or our other injector, then maybe they're not the injector for them.
and you just say like, hey, I know this person
Yes.
over here that would
Yeah.
loves doing that. They're perfect for you.
Yeah. And that's just
Yeah.
a matter of like confidence, like feeling confident enough in yourself and like what you bring to the table. And if you're just not going to work, then just politely give them other advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Is there anything else about Golden that you want us to like know about, think about? Anything else you feel like we should hit?
Let's continue about Halo West. This
Okay. Yeah. When did it open? Officially?
December 1st.
December 1st.
Like,
Were you there?
in body, yes. In body,
I would imagine that's a pretty crazy time trying to get it ready.
But
So what does that mean for you to be like at the Galt House? I mean, that's such a iconic space, I feel like.
it's cool. It's cool. Like I was saying earlier with the downtown, downtown Louisville is kind of revitalizing itself a little bit, and I'm excited to play a part of that.
Yeah.
Just bringing people in and helping to make downtown feel like a cool and a safe space to come again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely had a rough patch in Louisville, so I'm glad to see it like starting the rebound.
Yeah, there's a ton of really cool businesses going in downtown. They've put in, Derby City Gaming, ton of new restaurants, bourbon bars, housing. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool how it happened.
Yeah, Golden does. So this year will be our second year IVs at the Galt House for Derby.
Okay. For the record, I chickened out today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kaitlyn's over here. Yeah.
I was gonna get one with you, and I needed one, but I was like, I'm not gonna be the only one sitting there with an IBM viewer today. So,
Why not?
well, then it was afraid I would have to
I
go to
know.
the bathroom.
Oh,
Why did you
you know,
check it out?
Are you scared of needles?
I hate needles.
Okay.
It's so easy. Jordyn is like a gentle.
It's like a little
Like-
baby needle. It's the aesthetic world. It's not like going to the ER where
Yeah.
you're just like,
We're not doing a blood transfusion.
Next time.
Next time.
See, I don't have a lot of reference. I've been super fortunate to be healthy and like not. So it's just, in my head.
Yeah. This is more just like a vitamin, like 20 vitamins and absorb all of that in your body. It's more just a vitamin. It's not.
Yeah. Got it. So why'd you decide to start offering it, by the way?
IVs?
Like IVs. Yeah.
Oh, it's just easy. I hate to say that, but it's just like an easy kind of like, yeah, this makes sense.
It's a good wellness service.
Wellness, yeah. People love like B12 shots and things like that. It just makes people feel good. Yeah. You're not so like terrified of what you're putting in people's bodies, and it's just a way to feel better without having to stress people out over it.
Yeah.
I feel like beauty and wellness kind of go hand in hand with each other too. Like we've got a beauty IV that we do that's got some good like hair, skin, nail vitamins in it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You feel like it's delivered better like that way rather than like a pill or other kind of traditional ways that people
scientifically? Well, yes, it absolutely is.
Okay.
Physiologically, it is.
Yeah, it works the laster. If you are hurting from a day of drinking,
helps.
An IV definitely helps.
Yeah.
So that's what we were doing at the Galt House was IVs at Derby. For people, we had people come.
For people that had a lot of fun at Derby, come on over here.
It was perfect.
Yeah. So we originally were intending on taking on the Galt House space together. And we had some conversations.
Like as Golden?
Yes.
Okay.
And had some conversations and just decided that, with Jordyn being in Lexington, and, us kind of just opening Golden, that it probably wasn't the best fit for that moment.
Yeah.
And then I just thought it was too great an opportunity to turn down. So I said, well, why don't we open it as Pay Low?
Yeah.
And then Golden will, that still gives Golden a vessel to come in and offer services as well.
Yeah.
Without the commitment of Golden taking over the space in the Galt House.
Or could if you wanted to down the road, right?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah, we have options.
Yeah.
Well, because if you think of like Golden and Palo and like how we've been together from like Kaitlyn and myself, and it's been like Palo kind of like, paves the way. Like she pops in for a minute and she's there and doing great. And then Golden's like, well, here I come. We'll tag on.
No, that's awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to see because we were there and they like came to Kaitlyn. They're like, hey, we have this space, and it was a space. And she made it really beautiful, and it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. So why'd they come? Did they specifically want somebody in like wellness aesthetics? Like, because they were trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Curate?
They had a salon that was up there before.
Okay.
And, we had built a little rapport with the Galt House through Golden. And I've also done stuff with the Galt House just as a social media influencer in the past. So, we've got connections with their management and all that stuff. So they're already familiar with us and what we do. So the people that were in there actually had left like the day before Derby weekend last year. So we were all trying to do IVs, and they're like, hey, do you guys want to come see this space?
Yeah.
And so, we're like, oh yeah, we went up, looked at it. We're like, this is great. And then once the dust settled and we like had a moment to talk about it, we're like, okay, actually this really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's hard enough for Jordyn to come to Louisville for our business. Much less throwing in another one, and then she still has JLA. And I've got my life and business partner is my partner in all the salons with me as well. So it's like I have fun on that end.
Yeah,
too.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, the Galt House, that seems cool. I haven't spent a ton of time over there. I feel like I'm always just here. I need to get out more.
Come during Derby and get an IV from
Mint julep, IV.
Yeah,
that's gangster.
Balance it out, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Like, is that acceptable?
It can be whatever you want it to be. Anything goes.
So was it Derby last year? Is that what you're saying? So that was a pretty quick turnaround then. So was it like already outfitted kind of what you needed? Like, setup wise and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we offered to like come to people's rooms. There were like some people that couldn't even get out of bed that really needed our help.
Or wait, were you talking about like Palo West?
At the Galt House, like
the way we made the IVs work?
No, the space itself. the space. Sorry.
It was somewhat
Okay.
outfitted to what we need.
So like knocking down walls and that sort of
We
thing.
didn't have to do anything structural. It was already, pretty set up, fairly nice hallway, treatment rooms, salon area. Basically, the bulk of our work was aesthetic.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Makes that easy.
Yeah.
That was a really fast turnaround. So
We had help from the Galt House too. Like we were able to use their on-staff people,
yeah.
get the ball rolling really quick. I think we did like all the paint and the flooring in like 2 weeks.
So do you lease it? Is that the okay? So I'm curious if I can ask.
Yeah.
Like, do they take on any responsibility financially for the overhaul and onboarding, or is it like just
So the Galt
it's all
House,
you get to do whatever you want?
the Galt
It's all
House
on
was
you.
fabulous to work with. They gave us complete freedom
Okay.
as far as what we did with the space. They also did provide us with the tenant allowance,
Okay.
which allowed us to cover a bit of the costs. We
Yeah.
definitely still dipped into our own pockets quite a bit.
It's
but-
close an allowance, so it was just like a dollar amount, and you just do whatever you think you need to.
Yep. And that's with
That's nice.
stipulations. Like we had to sign a certain amount year lease. If we break that lease, we owe all that money back, essentially.
Yeah.
The business.
Yeah, all the business side of
Yeah.
things. But, the way that we have our lease set up with them kind of gives them a little bit of skin in the game to where it encourages them to promote our services because the better we do, the better the Galt House does.
Yeah. See, I feel like this part of the conversation of like business ownership doesn't really get talked about. We talk about like the culture and that kind of stuff, but like we don't really get into the nitty gritty of like the
People shy away from
leases
talking about
and all
money
of
and
that
stuff, I feel like.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's the entire like foundation of all of it. And it's the part yeah, it's like if you know what you're doing professionally but you don't understand this, like you can't really go on and be a successful business owner.
Right.
Like this is the foundation that you really should know.
For sure.
And I wish we had more conversations about and being transparent about it. Like, yeah, if you do a 5-year lease, it's going to be cheaper, or a 3-year lease, it's going to cost more, or we're not going to give you that tenant allowance, or like just whatever that looks like. Like so many more people would probably take the leap and own a company if they knew that, because that's the most complicated part, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And once you feel confident about like what that structure could look like, then I found it easier myself as a business owner once I knew the ounce of that. And it's not complicated. It's just we don't talk about it, so it's hard to find information on. I mean, even leasing a place like this, it's like, what does it look like to come into a place and lease?
Yeah.
People
shy away from numbers. Like the second you start talking numbers and math, people are like, oh no, that's too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very important.
Yeah.
Numbers are the essence of the business.
For sure.
So do you have any quick advice as we go?
Yeah.
The books, which
for sure.
books?
All of them.
All of
Every
them.
single.
The whole library.
The whole library of business. I'm trying to think if I had like one specifically that helped me so much. There was one that I read just to start out before even like jumping the gun, and it had to do with having fierce conversations.
Fierce. Okay.
I can't think of the name of the book itself, but I think it has fierce conversations in the title. But it was really really well thought out and well planned, and it just helps you kind of navigate difficult conversations that you're going to have, whether it's business transactions or employees, what have you. And so that was a good one.
Do you find yourself thinking a lot more about like the business side of things or the aesthetic side, like the technical part?
I think I would say like at this point, probably more business. But it all goes hand in hand. So like after having so many years of experience in aesthetics, like I feel really comfortable and confident in what I can do as a provider, as a clinician, and what I can teach my employees. But then we're always learning business, always, and always thinking about numbers, and that's
We had to sit down and go back and forth a lot in the beginning about numbers. About like, hey, what is your portion in this? What is our portion in this? Like, it's not comfortable stuff to talk about, but in the end, it's like, so glad we did, and then I can also say 100%, even though it may be your best friend in the world, sign contracts.
Yeah.
Get all of it down on paper so it's official. and sign it.
It's all just expectations, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's hard to have that
Well,
conversation.
it doesn't have to be. I think the word contract scares people too. It's an agreement. It's a handshake.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, I commit to holding up my end, you commit to holding up yours, and this is what we're going to be compensated for doing so.
Yeah. Yeah, that open conversation, open expectation is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on and doing this. I mean, I think this is a lot of fun.
Thanks for having
You
us.
both, you both are really interesting individuals, but also together, you can totally feel the chemistry, and it totally makes sense, like why you've partnered together. So I wish you all the luck, especially in Palo West now. Assuming you're going to go there at some point because you weren't there on the first when you opened.
Yeah, I have yet
Bad
to see
joke, lame joke. All right. But so how can we learn more about anything that you want people to check out, whether it's Palo or if it's Golden, JLA?
We have our
Social media.
Instagram accounts. Yeah. Jordyn's got all her businesses listed on hers. I've got mine on mine. We also have Golden Aesthetic Atelier on Instagram, as well as our website, www.goldenaestheticatelier.com.
How do you spell Atelier, by the way? It's French.
ATELIER. Right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's right. Yeah.
That's it.
I'm the worst at, like, when somebody's spelling something, like, I have to sit there and try to picture it.
It's like the
I can't do
directions
it.
when you're
It's
getting
terrible.
things and you just immediately zone out. You're like, I didn't hear any of the spelling.
Exactly. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate all your time. Thank you.
We appreciate yours.
Thank you. This is
course.
great.
Yay.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to the Lexington Business Show. Go right now, rate and review the podcast. It's how we grow and thrive and how we get more listeners and get to do a lot more cool stuff here on the show. Thank you.